Hello there and welcome. My name is Martin Close, and this is the Classical Art Academy Online Art School. Welcome everybody to this evening stream. Hope all is well, and you can hear me in good, and I'm clear. So, right. So last week, which we had a bit of fun on, we started this painting that you see behind me, and just a bit of recap. Prior to that, we did a couple of oil sketches. One which you see on the palette and the other one which was here. And these sketches are really to help me determine whether I want to, or how I want to paint the painting, because I don't want to painting it exactly as a photograph, in essence. I want to change it a little bit. So last week we put a first layer on, managed to do that in good time. And what I want to do this week is to alter a few things which I've particularly kind of seen that I want to adjust, and also develop this area quite a bit. I want to really sort of get this to what I call sort of mid-stage, or maybe a bit further. We'll see how we go. So on the palette, I've got titanium white, Naples yellow light, that's cadmium yellow deep, cadmium, I think that's cadmium red. That's interesting. Should be an orange in there. So I'll get some of that out in a second. That's cadmium red, light. We'd normally have a cadmium orange. This is French ultramarine blue. This is olive green, which I did think, if you remember last week, I thought I was toing and throwing between olive green and sap green. So we'll stay with the olive, but we can always introduce a bit of sap if I need a bit of extra punchy green at the end of it. This is Van Dyke Brown, which is a hot favourite for me for just taking the edge off of a colour. It's good to desaturate. And this is Ivory Black. And I've pre-mixed some of the colours. Actually, these are the ones which we used last week as on the palette. I've had them stored in a fridge, so they're nice and fresh. And we're pretty much all ready to go. In the jar, I've got a mixture of odorless solvent, 25%, and 75% bleached linseed oil. And I've mixed those two together to create a medium, which was, the reason for that is some of the paint is going to be a little bit thick. I don't want it to be thick. I want it to flow over the canvas. Too much is not good. Too little, again, it sticks and drags. So the medium is there to offer a good balance. And let's see how we go. So a little bit of medium first. Just touch the brush in. And what I want to do first off is just get a bit of this light sky colour. I kind of feel this goes too much. It's too sharp an angle. It's a little bit, you know, just a little bit predictable, I think. So I'm going to take that down. Now that's not white either. If you look on the palette, you probably see that's this colour and there's white. So it's quite a big difference, a bit more fluid. So I'm brightening up the sky a bit. I'm going to scrub this in. The beauty of it is that if I feel it's too light, well, we can tone it down a bit. Quite easy. Bit more fluid. Hope all of you are well. You've had a good week. It's been a fairly busy one this end. Let's just get this in. Big area, maybe I should have used a slightly bigger brush, but hey, there's no rush. This side, I kind of feel I just want to take it back a little bit as well, so I'm going to push this back. It's going to change the appearance of the painting, but I think we'll see a benefit of it. If not, then we'll change it. Yeah. In truth, the trees are probably going to come into this, so I'm not really that concerned, but I want to create an interesting shape. Just going to pop this in. Now the sideline, really I want to look at is going to be like maybe this. Really cut that in. The reason I'm lightening it is that, well, I clipped the other colour below. There, that was a divine intervention. Yeah, the reason I wanted to change this, or lighten it a bit, because I just felt it was a bit too downhearted in colour or in tonal value. This is going to be the brightest part, clearly. That's where the sky is. Everything else comes down from that. So when it's this dark, we haven't got very, very far to go. If we want to produce a bit of highlight, it's got to come from somewhere. Okay. The beauty of oils, it's never over until you say it is. I'll probably variegate that down a little bit in a second. Yeah, so I'm going to push this a bit further back. Like I said, in truth, the trees will probably come into this area. That's fine. Begin to feel like I should have mixed a little bit extra colour up, but never mind. It's going to change as it goes down and moves across. So we'll look at that from afar, which I can just see in the computer screen. Yeah, I think that's a bit better. Just gave me too much of a chevron going up, and it didn't feel right. I think a lot of what you do in art, painting, is feeling. Obviously seeing is a little bit important as well, but if something doesn't feel right, then it probably isn't. You have to ask a question. Is it right? Normally means it's not. You don't have to ask a question, then it's probably okay. So a quick look. Yeah, that's really brightened up. In actual fact, you can see where the tree line is going to be quite clearly now. I'm going to bring this down into this area. I want it to drop really kind of, I suppose, yeah, kind of in this area-ish. Quick check. I think everything else is okay. Do text me if it's not. Got a message through. Tiny bit of fluid into this. And like I said, the fluid is a mixture of odorless solvent and bleached linseed oil. 25% solvent, 75% bleached linseed oil. Yeah, so we've got a kind of a tree coming in across here. Trees going up. I think that's much more interesting. and believable. So we'll run with that. Excellent. It's good to go. Just put a little bit more into some of these areas. Okay, so I'll adjust all of that and probably reinforce it sometime tomorrow. This will still be wet tomorrow, so I can put a bit more on and really build it and soften it up. Hopefully I've got rid of some of the sheen from the canvas from last week. I've got a polarizing filter on the lens today, so hopefully we won't get as much sheen coming off of. I think it's largely in this area. It's a little bit, but it's not much. Right, so we now, same brush, I want to move down a colour. We want to do this very subtly. I don't want a big step. It's almost as if, well, nothing's there. Probably can't even see that. I can just about see a bit of a difference. And again, thinking of tree shapes. I still haven't kind of worked out what type of trees I'm going to have on this. It's a mixed bag, I think, with the mostly. I don't think they're fir trees or anything. So fairly traditional. Look like I think oaks, maybe a few oaks, a few birch, beech, that sort of stuff. So there's a sequoia. And if you remember last week, I'd quite like to have this as a sequoia forest or mist coming through, mainly because of the North America connection. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Right now, I don't need to worry too much about that because the trees are so far in the mist, or would be mist, that there's not a great deal of detail which I need to worry too much about. I just need to get some roughs in. You can see how I'm scrubbing this colour in. I'm effectively just making it wet again. Very fortunate to live so close to the New Forest in Bournemouth. And we've got quite a large amount of sequoia redwood in the New Forest. For those of you who've never been, it's worthy to take a visit. It's quite a lovely forest. Very fortunate to have it on our doorstep. So I'm breaking into the light a little bit here, and I'm going to soften this a little bit. The canvas has been kind of well sealed now with the imprimatur layer and then this first layer of paint. This is effectively the second layer of paint. We are changing it quite a bit in this area, so it's almost like first layer, take two, but it's still going on rather nicely. It's a big difference when you have second and third layers on canvases. It's difficult to explain unless you've really sort of experienced it, but there is a different feel to the way the paint reacts. Is that looking? Yeah. Coming up here. I'm just going to blur the edges of this a little bit as it hits into the tree line. Scrubbing the paint in, as you can see. We're not at the stage of being refined yet. So I'm not really too, the word bothered, fussed. More concerned with getting it wet and taking some of these edges down a little bit. So this is going to be, these are quite nearer or quite, well, they're nearer to me than further away. This down here is further away, so I want to be putting a bit more distant colour into this. I don't want to be too high a chroma, it's going to go down, so I'm going to extend the colour that I'm using into this area a little bit. Not too much, just a little. Now I'm going to switch into this colour, which is a kind of a burnt orange. There we go. That sort of colour. Bit of solvent. Now these are, this is going to be the intermediate section, so again, just a few shapes, softening that. I think if you think too much at this stage, it almost goes a bit false, contrived on you, so I don't want to be thinking too much. Breaking that line. Yeah. So we've gone considerably lighter, but I think we're okay. I think that's going to work. And the trees, I've made them a kind of an orangey-esque glow, warm glow at this point. They'll become green as they get into, oopsie, wrong colour, past the mist, past the fog. These up here will probably start to go green, but there might still be a bit of, I'm going to soften the edge with this colour anyway. So when we put the, probably one of these greens down here for that, it'll have something to mix into, and it won't be dry paint. Like I said, it's kind of think forest, think wood, think trees. What are the shapes going to be? You'd never know there were trees from back here, truly. You'd realise they're trees because you're in amongst them, but if nothing else existed, you'd have no idea what that was. So it doesn't need to have any absolute form as such. Yeah, okay, we can start thinking about this a bit more now as we go into the near tree area. Then it's going to get a bit more important to know what we're doing. If I give the impression I know what I'm doing, got it all worked out, no worries. Let's get this in. So I'm going to now move across, I think, into the first greens, and I'm using the same brush again. The reason for it is I just wanted to mix in to the other colours. Now, let's have a quick think. So, the first hint of green. That probably doesn't look green at all on your screens. Maybe it does. Only some patches. And we're going to just take some of these edges down in a second. Okay. So I'm putting this into that warm mix, but in, like I said, patches. I'm deliberately not wanting to over paint everything that's on there. I want to leave some of this different colour in place. I think that's quite important. Moving into this area now, just a bit of tiny bit more solvent, or fluid I should say. Just letting the brush dance across. Any detailing is going to go on top of this area, so it doesn't need to have any leaves, trees, or branches or anything like that going on just yet. If there is any hint of shadow, it needs to be this end, obviously, because this is light, so any shadow is going to be either there. Over here, any shadow is going to be this way, because that's the center of light. Shadow is going to be emanating from it. Bringing this down. I'm putting it on relatively thin because I'm going to be darkening some of this area up in a minute, and do not want to have a massive paint, which I'm then going to regret. Okay. Right, so this, we're now into, I'm going to enhance some of this because I kind of like some of the shapes which are already on here, especially around this area. So this will help enhance that. Just using, in other words, the painting which is underneath to guide me a little bit on where to stick some of these lighter greens. Let's move this in. Now this is quite a dark zone, so there'll be some areas of dark to go in this. Now, let's have a quick thing. This is, down here is going to be obviously a lot of trees, it's going to be in shadow, but the fog, the mist is in there and it's affecting everything. So there's going to be a colour coming in from that. This will be dark or greens, you know, sort of very low chroma green going into rolling round. The mist at the bottom area around here is going to be hugging the shore or hugging where the water is. So a little bit of light coming in on this, and there's where we can add a tiny bit of light to that area. I call it green. It's quite a bit of orange in it and yellow, so it's a very low chroma green. It's just probably teetering over the edge of yellow, a very low chroma yellow. Good. Now let's get into this. And this is a higher chroma green. Just wondering if it's too much. Let's have a put it in and see. There we go. So the You see, that's already wet, so it immediately took the edge off. If we put this into like a dry area, we get an edge. No matter how we do it, we get an edge. Whereas into a wet zone, it's easy to make that vanish. And at distance, we won't see a sharp edge. Okay. So beginnings of some colour there. I think when the rest of this is in, this will make a lot more sense. Right, now it's probably thinking, what am I doing? We have confidence. So we bring up this now. So we're on the edge of that forest, distant trees. There's still with just tree-esque shapes going in. Nothing more. But here, now here, I'm going to introduce a little bit of extra dark green underneath of that. I want to get a kind of rolling underneath shadow. So, but we don't want to go too. Here's where we want to go a little bit dark, but not too dark. I'm going to add a little bit of the Van Dyke into this. Now, here's where Van Dyke really does work. It's not black, and as such, it can take some of the chroma out of a colour, but it's kinder. If that makes any sense to you guys, try it. So I think it works particularly well for, especially as it's a yellow brown. It's not a red brown like burnt sienna or something. It's a very dark kind of raw umber ish colour. Right, and now I'm going to lose the underside of that. So I put that in first. I just want to then take that down, and we might need to just put a bit more of that into it. Okay, a bit more of the Van Dyke, and kind of you can see it just you can see the effect there. Just takes the chroma away, but softly. Just felt that was too high a chroma of green. It's coming through on the screen. It's been very yellow-esque. So we're just going to tone it down a bit. This is a kind of correction colour I'm putting on, as opposed to the colour which I want to put in there. I'm just going to take that a little bit light on that edge. Okay, so I'm going to take now this 1-inch blender from Rosemary & Co. And I'm just going to take the edge off a little bit, just soften, because that's all this will be supporting the main painting anyway, so it's not, I don't want a hard edge on it. I might have to come back at the end of the day and do a bit more of this. Could do with I think it might be even too harsh a brush. Let's put that on the side for a second. I'm only doing this because it's effectively the part of the painting which is not necessarily going to be seen. It's underneath, although I'm going to be putting another layer on this sky, so it'll be below that. So I just don't want any big ridges of paint. And I just want to soften some of these edges as they go into the forest from the sky. Key here is keep the brush reasonably controlled. You don't want to just mess everything up from here to here. So it's fairly tight strokes. And I think it's true to say I'd only ever use this at the beginning stages of a painting, because I just want this to be in support, pushed back. Moving from light into dark, and just being a bit mindful of keeping that brush a bit clean. Okay. If it's too oily or too wet, this won't work very well. But like I said, I'm going to come back and do a second layer on this anyway, I think probably tomorrow, or maybe a third layer. So we changed it quite dramatically. But I think already that's made a very big difference to the illumination of the painting. So I'm glad we did that change. It needed to happen. And the reason I wouldn't do this till the end of a painting is that I wouldn't want to lose the control of the shapes or the chroma or the colours mixing into each other, the end part of a painting. I want to keep that under the control of brush strokes as opposed to a blender like this. For now, good to go. Quick, it's easy, and it's effective. Right. A bit around here, and then we can move on into the woods. I'm going to take that away so that there's no edge around that area at all. It's just the heat of something going on. Right, pretty much got there. Whoopsie. Let's put that down and we'll go into the next bit. Where's that big brush? Okay, so let's see where we are. This is, might tone that down a bit with, again, with a Van Dyke. Actually introduce a bit of this colour into it. Yep, so let's make a mark. just blend that down to not much as it comes down. It's wet into wet. Well, at least now it is wet into dry. No detail as such. It's not going to be seen. Again, tops of the trees, just tree-esque shape. And here we have, like I said, it's wet into wet. And they're like ghosts of trees. Affected by the mists, fog. No one can see what they are really. This is why I wanted to soften those edges in first so that we don't get any harsh edges of the background colour. Hope you can see that. Yeah. Ghosts of trees actually is a pretty good way of explaining what we're after. And we really don't want to blend that. We want those edges, they're wet on wet, so they're not sharp, not harsh. We don't want to blend it away as such. Good. So a bit more of the Van Dyke, I think, into that. Now this is a long way off. Noise is coming from the oil pot. Notice I'm not actually putting the brush into the dip now because what I'm painting already has the oil on it, or the medium onto it, so it's mixing in. I don't need to keep putting the brush in. You can see that as I'm obscuring it. Top of a tree. I mean, you never know what tree that was, so it's, you know, we don't need to give it a name, it's just tree. move this across. It's going to look quite effective, I think, that as we build. I want to keep this quite patchy. So what we're doing, we're just playing with shapes. It's going to change dramatically when we get into this. But for the now, it's a kind of enjoyable way of, I think, painting. Bit of non-committal. Or gentle, I should say. It's quite easy to get into repetitive shape mode when you're doing things like this, which we don't want to do. Try and keep those brush strokes random. You saw me rolling the paint on then, well, yeah, changing the shape. And the brush marks themselves are, the kind of phrase, random. Okay, so let's get a bit more brown into this green coming up here. So that was the original green. Van Dyke goes in, takes it darker, also kills some of the chroma, but not as much as it would do if we were using black. You can see that I'm obscuring. Okay. bit more Van Dyke going into the screen. We're getting darker. I almost went to the darker colour, and I will do in a second. I just want to get some of this Van Dyke brown into this green mix, so it doesn't come too green too soon. Right. Not really paying too much attention to the original photograph as of yet, but it will be. So again, Van Dyke into this, but I'm going to go to the darker green. A bit more Van Dyke. What's it look like? Going to need to start thinking about tree types, shapes fairly soon, especially in that zone. Start interpreting the values into colours, because we've changed it a great deal. I'm just going to take some of that and soften a little bit. Notice the technique, it's very gentle, but it's also don't go the same direction twice. Looking forward to getting to the bones of this painting. Currently we're all at the support stage. I've got tomorrow in the morning to work on this a bit before I start on the school projects. Okay, so just bleeding that down, softening that edge. Okay. Got a bit of sheen still on that top edge, which is a shame. To rethink this again to see if we can try and get rid of it. So again, with the brown but the darker, I'm going to add a bit of black to this now as well. And I'm going to switch to another brush. There we go. And I kind of want to put some lighter values in. Just mark them off on here. taking that edge and softening it a little bit. Good. I need a hybrid between those two. Mix of two colours. I want to bring this into a shape. So this needs to come down, across. Hope I'm not obscuring the area. Okay. Shape it. These shapes I'm popping in kind of where I need to have some light. And I'm just marking off that area so I don't put too dark a zone in. You can see it's just a shape I'm popping in there. Nothing more than that. Now, let's get into this dark. Tempted to put some medium in. I want to battle this in really. I don't want to go too runny. Okay, so yeah, it's a shame we're getting still getting some sheen. I thought I had that sauced. These big shapes form the backdrop to the littler shapes, which only makes sense when you see the progress and the process of the painting, I think. Otherwise, they're kind of empty words, you know, and it's really difficult to explain what you're doing and why you're doing it. Because words mean different things to different people, and sometimes we just use the wrong words. So I think think as we progress this, you'll see what I mean. It'll make more sense, hopefully. Yep. You can see the brushstroke. I'm literally scrubbing it in there. And if you can imagine, you know, to do this painting a leaf at a time, you wouldn't do it. So do not paint leaves. Paint the shapes the leaves make. Now, complicating that. That's all we need to do. Making sure we don't have a shape, repetitive shape. That's the one. We need a shape. We don't want a repetitive shape. That would be somewhat embarrassing. Random shape. Him again. Use the brush like it's almost like a colouring in pencil. We got a row of trees. I just laugh at myself sometimes. Hard as we can. We have such tidy brains. Picket line fence. We'll get rid of that. Maybe. Let's see. Just want to complicate this. Which one should we take out? I kind of feel this one needs to disappear. A bit lighter. And just yeah. There you go. Tree. Don't need nothing other than that. So let's just go a little bit darker still. I've got some light on this brush. I'm going to go darker if I've got light on it. Take it out of focus. Good. We're going to adjust that. But I'm not really that worried about it just yet. Doesn't quite look right, but it will do. No worries. Let's come up here. I don't want to make this too green painting, as I explained last week, because modern day decor, very few people go for greens. Unlike the 1920s or whatever, I think they're more popular for green floral paintings or fabrics. That's what I'm looking for. Accessorizing. Oh, that's a nice one. Accessorizing the house. Gosh. No, I haven't been up the brandy. Right. Brain malfunction. Okay, so we can see the beginnings of this, where it's beginning to pan out, and that, I think that's working. So the refinement of that will continue. Right, I've got two brushes, haven't I? Always have one brush dark, one brush light, and a brush medium if you need one. Never go 3 brushes all the same colour. There you go. Right, pick one to make a dark. Yeah, right, we use this one. So Van Dyke again. Let's just check on the old time. Whereas my 6 o'clock, is that right? The glasses, blindartist.com. Good. So let's see. Let's come back a minute. Mind the tea, slurp of. Yeah, we're getting this. I think that's a nicer shape. So you want to come in with some darks now. Random-esque. Don't obliterate all the light because it's a bit silly. And because we've got light there already, or a paint there, if you can see, that might be obscuring it. So we're going to end up with a softened edge. We'll have hard edges, but not yet. So where are we there? Okay, we're about here. I do have below me, or just down here, a photograph of the original photograph of this scene, which you can see in the bottom right-hand corner. Same photograph. And I'm just using it as a rough guide. Light and dark values, shapes, nothing much more than that. I'm going to go for a slightly lighter green now. Let's put some of these in. As I'm flitting from one to the other, I do that. It's fine. Right, so coming up, so this is going to be a lighter-esque shape. Right, good, excellent. I'll just put a little bit of medium in this. I don't want to go too low down here is going to be silly. We've got this path going up, so it doesn't need to be lower than that, I don't think. Or maybe in patches. So where's that? Here. That's just to tell me where some light foliage is. Nothing else. Everything which you do to painting, you always need to question. Is it right? Lighter, darker, different shape. Can't move it when it's dry. Well, you can paint over, I suppose. It's a lot easier to do stuff when it's wet. Sometimes. Yeah, that's beginning to work. Okay. So where else is light? And also, what colour? We don't have a hybrid here, I think. And again, to mix these two colours together. If you've got A and you've got B, then you have AB in the middle, or however way you want to describe this. So I don't want to go too committal into dark. Yep. Now, I think I've made the decision as to what type of trees these are. I think they're going to be kind of what they truly are in the photograph. I think we'll keep it simple. So, comes there, we're about here, some other light. No two colours are the same, so don't worry about trying to make them the same. Millions and millions of different greens in a forest, so why stick with 5? And for those of you who are learning, so many new students put too much emphasis on colour. You worry about getting the right colour. And there is a mantra, your painting's easy. You stick the right colour and the right shape in the right place and you get the right painting. But if you worry about something, you're going to make it much bigger than it really is. If you're going to worry about if you're going to worry about anything or trying to get something right, just focus on the value, the tonal value. Can change the colour easy. And we've changed this was quite dark, we've made it really light. So really you can change anything, but try to focus on the value, the tonal value of the painting or whatever it is you're trying to mix. Don't be too concerned about colour in these early stages when you're learning. It's not that important. I think I mentioned last week we could paint this forest bright blue. It would still work if the tonal values were true. Maybe we'll do that one day. That would be nice. I do that in the school on a curriculum painting, just to show colour is not important. Tonal value is everything, and you can paint a field of grass bright red. It still works if your tonal values are true. I can feel loads of people not agreeing with that. It's fine. So the light and dark form a shape. Where is it? Here. Let's get a bit more dark into that. I can feel that in my head. I've got this conversation going on that we should paint a blue forest. I did start one off. We should paint a nice big blue forest in French ultramarine blue. It'll look great. Good. You can see these shapes of light and dark give us shapes of the trees. And then we can get more detailed with them later. Detailed, gosh, there's a word. Don't normally use the word detailed. I think the reason for that is, having spent such a lot of time teaching, huge number of students want to paint photographs. They want to get every bit of detail in there. It's really, you don't want to do that. Somebody wanted to buy a photograph, I go and buy a photograph. So if you want to sell a painting, make a painting. And that's truth. But it takes time to change your ideas, and sometimes that one can take years. Some people never ever get out of that, and that's fine because not everybody's the same, so it's cool. It's the beauty of art. It's all different. Yeah, I'm really liking this, the way it's layering out now. I haven't touched this area. Maybe we should. So let's do that. So this is kind of near, this is just a bit further back. This is really distant, so they've got to go from far to near. So I'm going to do this zone first, and now, there we go, it's a lighter brush. We're all being one family, so I don't need millions of brushes. Or yet, anyway. Right. Try and get colour which works. Okay. Stick this in, see where we go with it. Just check microphone's still funky up, they are, and just check something else. Good, okey-doke. Just making sure that we're all systems running. I'll just complicate that a little bit in a sec. Just let the brush dance around. Hardly touching the canvas. Keep feeling I'm obscuring the canvas with my shoulder, so apologies if that's happening. Yeah, that's a bit better. Where are we? Right, let's continue with the light. I think just a little, that's a lot. Don't want to put too much in here. It's a little bit too runny now. Don't worry, let's see where this goes. Putting some light shapes in. Really, in my head, wanted to keep this. Let's use this brush. That mist going in, so tiny bit of fluid. Kind of want to keep that. The way I see that as a hill going up. So I just want to make sure I don't paint darks into that. It's just there for my records, nothing else in life. Do a bit the same the other way. So a quick peep. Yeah, this is going to be dark. So that's kind of light in the dark is going to come above that. Maybe in here. So now that light I'm working into, which will disappear totally. Let's put the, let's have a quick think. Okay, so I'll decide which way to go here, which is going to be the best. So this is a decision in the making. need to know where some of these darks are going to go and how they're going to interact with this area of the painting. I need to put the lights into. So let's just have a quick think. Now I'm recording this obviously and streaming, so, and this is going to be one of my own paintings for exhibitions, so I would probably do exactly what I'm doing now, but obviously in the quiet of my own head. Well, it's not that quiet, but in my head. And the only reason I'm voicing it is so, pardon me, you can get an idea of what's in my head. Good job it's not contagious. Now, I don't go too dark on that one. Maybe I could have used the brush and just flipped it over so it's like. So this is me just kind of playing with areas. You've got the light, but you want to keep light-ish, but not necessarily that light. So let's see what happens. The reason I don't want a harsh line in there is because it's too far away, and I want it to have a certain amount of mist. We're going to have tree trunks and other bits and pieces going through. I just wanted to have that as a slightly lighter, ghosted area. This needs to tone down a bit. Quite amazing how paintings change in the moment when you're being a little loose, shall we say. Slurp of tea. Slurp of cold tea. So I'm going to make that wet and then I can figure it out. I think let's have a little bit of scattering of dark. Sorry, I'm obscuring again, aren't I? Just can't get the painters anymore. Right. Yeah, that's kind of what I had in my head. I'm looking at the screen, which is looking at what you're looking at. Good. Glad we got that clear. So let's carry on. Where's those lights? So I'm going to go a little bit, again, mixture of these two colours. Okay. Might have liked a little bit higher chroma than that there. Maybe. We'll see. So I'm putting the light shapes in so I can work the dark shapes around. This isn't the way to paint, it's just a way to paint, and today it's the way I'm painting this. It's important you don't hang on every brush stroke because they do change. I don't paint the same way every level. I think it's probably the Gemini in me, just don't want same old, same old. coming into slightly stronger. I'm going to go even stronger than that if I can get this right. Might go a little bit of yellow in that. Yeah, going to put a bit more yellow directly on top. Tad more even. A couple of these. Shapes to highlight the side of trees, because the light hitting this end will make a whatever it is there light, medium, dark around the shadows. So yellow shall be the colour we'll add to that. Keeps the chroma a bit high. We don't get a graze, we don't want to do on the near side of this. Greys and stuff are great down here, but you don't want to bring them too home up to this end. I'm a bit mindful this is kind of needs to be slightly different, but I'll come back to that in a second. Paintings develop, and when they do, nice things happen. Sometimes you don't see clearly what it is you want until you develop it up. And you're looking for a nice shape, something special, or nice something rather. Pretty loose statement, isn't it? Let's get into the darks. Using Van Dyke to tone down the chroma. Don't want a high chroma dark. Don't want black. It's too dark for there. Filling in the blanks where the grey areas are. Don't like dry canvas. It's pretty dark through in there, but we'll see what it looks like. Yep, we're getting there. This stage of a painting, it should look a bit messy. It does, which is good. So we're on track. If it looked too neat, it would look a little bit, I don't know, what's the word on the, too tidy. Nature's messy, it's not tidy. We try to tidy it up, we make formal gardens, but generally speaking, it's all over the place. Yeah, now you can begin to see the way that's, can you see how that's beginning to look woody? Paints itself. if you allow it. I think sometimes you're painting away at this stage and it's easy for fear to grip you because it doesn't look like a forest painting yet. So that yet word is very important to add. And I think when you're starting painting, just starting out, everything has to look just amazing. Well, after a while you realise it ain't going to look amazing until a bit further down the road. So you kind of stop worrying about it. Yeah, I really like the way this begins to turn. It's like the highlight of a tree bending round into shadow. And these will form the flat branches of trees. Especially, look at this. It almost speaks the tree. It's a mark. So, I'm liking this. If you have any questions, please do ask away and type them into the comments, and I'll pick them up and we can chat about stuff. So that was pretty dark when I stuck in there, but I think it's going to work okay. I need some dark, otherwise it's going to be too happy. Needs to be some dark areas. Van Dyke, green, Van Dyke, making Van Dyke green. There we go. Right, now I think this is nice. We've got this is a dark zone. So is that. And it goes. Just changing that around a bit. I'm looking back at the screen. It's because I can see the entire painting on the screen, whereas I have to walk next door to see this. It's 4 foot wide, so it's easier for me to just glance at the screen and go, oh, it's a bit dark. Yep. Now I want to just take all that in a little. Don't want a line. I want it to be just one big dark. Needs to be a bit. Need to introduce the dark. I got the dark brush going into a bit of light and the light brush going into a bit of dark, and I'm just complicating it. Which one? One of those. Pick one, stick to it. Right. Good. So we've got a path going through here. So let's just stick it in lighter than it needs to be. No, I'm not. I'm going to turn it down a few because it's kind of just have that coming in. Scratching it in. Right. So I'm going to make that into a path. The path does not exist there, but it should do. So we're going to stick it in. Ish in that place. Ish. Just putting this in. This is quite near, so we can afford to go a little lighter. Tiny bit of solvent. Well, oil mostly. I kind of just thought that might disappear and go. Yeah, might do. You never know, you know. Okay, bit of dark. So basically this is going to be a bank, kind of, maybe. Definite possibility. I want it to curve. It's my path. I want it to curve. Let's curve it. That's better. So I laughed at what came out of my mouth then was, it's my path. It's my forest. I want a curved one. It's good to laugh at what you say and do sometimes. Catch yourself thinking, I don't believe I said that. So I'm just putting in some random S shows. This does not exist, so it's kind of needs to. So it shall, but it needs to have some ooey about it. So there you go. You can figure all the where's the rock's going to go in some places later, so it's not a problem. I feel we're making headway now. That's kind of nice. So dark brush into underneath here needs to go. Hope you're enjoying this. It's I just kind of felt it needed to make one or two big changes. And there's actually, this has come on, which is nice. So we can really work with that. But it's no good doing something if your heart tells you it should be something different. And I think that's true of life. Heart tells you should do something, go and do it. Your brain tells you to go and do something, question it with your heart. Yeah, that's nice. Sometimes these little touches just work. And then you think, yeah, it works. Okay, now this is going to have stuff on it. I'm not going to define what stuff is, but it's just know that it's got stuff. We'll work that in. Some of this stuff is going to be, most of it in actual fact, is going to be rocks. So I'm going to, that's a bit harsh. Yeah, it's brought it too far forward. I did that deliberately so I could show you how to push it back now. So, there we go. It was just too everything. Yeah. So we need, I'm going to get a bit of yellow, pop it up here. And I'm going to get a bit of this green. I want to make a yellowy green. Now, the ultramarine blue will boost this. But I'm just toying with the idea of getting some sap out. I don't really want to do that, if I can help it. I don't think the olive is going to do it for me. Try. I like a challenge. Oopsie. Okay. See what that looks like. This is in, I'm not going to say sunlight, but it's in light. And it just needs to help that feature out. Yeah, it's okay. I'm going to continue with that colour just in here a little bit. Just want to give the impression that it's coming in this area. We have a bit to do around here, so that's fine. Now, let's take that. Let's take another colour. How are we doing for time? We are got about 15 minutes. Good, excellent. So this, I'm just going to use it to neutralise some of this green. It's going to be a sort of pathy colour. Mind you, in the forest, thinking about it, that's going to be much better. Good thinking. Excellent. Right, so, yeah, there you go, chiseling out the path. It's just a rough guide for me, nothing else. It's not going to look like that, obviously. Well, hopefully not. Okay. So it's kind of a sort of foresty floor-esque colour. Ish. Sort of differentiate from that and the greens. And like everything, this will have values to it. Thins out along the side here because A, perspective, B, because there's going to be stuff in front of it. Path is slightly lower than what its surrounds are, so that's what that's all about. And it's good to go just there. It tells me where it is. Let's have a quick look at that. Yeah, we likes that. Good, easily pleased. Now, back into the dark. Just peeping at the, yeah. This will still be wet because I've used an oil which is going to retard the drying time down, which is what I want. Just do not want this to dry too quick. Can work on it. I mean, it's 4 foot wide. Why would I want to have it dry quick? So that's the reason why. And if you were with, I mean, just trying to think if one of the imprimatures, which we've done quite a few of now, you realise that we can make a painting dry literally within about 15, 20 minutes, half hour. So what we add to the paint determines its drying time. And that's kind of nice. Good. So this is really dark. I need to get some Van Dyke on that. With the greens on the brush, the Van Dyke brown kind of goes green-esque. Now, I need need to just switch over, if I can, to a different brush. I'm going to use this one. So a quick look. Needs to go darker than that. Bit of solvent, well, oil. Question, is that too high? No, the path is too high, too low. The path needs to go up. Good. Needs to come up here, but to make sense. Okay, that's good news. Let's make that. Yeah, kind of. Bit of solvent. Let's get that mapped in. A new addition, this. We had the path coming in, which was an afterthought almost last week. But path going out, that's a new addition this week. Yeah, I think that works much better. Let's put that down. Which means I need to change this. Where are we on it? Yeah, it's got to go. Various shades of green. Scrub that in. Yep. Yeah. Complicate this path. Later. But now I just need to know where it was heading, and I think that's better. More interesting. Yep, good. Right, so what have we got in the middle? Combo of light and dark. So let's have a look at where the lighter areas are. There's one. So it's going to be a little bit light-esque there, but not much, because that is predominantly going to go dark quick. Check the time in a minute. I must be around coming up for 7, I would imagine. Is it? Where are we? Okay, so 10 minutes. I'll continue to about 5 past 7. Just want to get this area in. And we're running out of Van Dyke as well. A bit of black goes in on this one because it really is dark and can afford to go dark. Yep. Makes sense of that. This is a rock which I'm putting in. Dark, rocky shadow thing. So tomorrow, what I'm going to be doing in the morning, I'll get up quite early, I'm going to remap in the rest of this area. Kind of really like the way this is beginning to bend round. There's going to be some dark. We've got a few light areas here, which actually, if I've got a light brush there, I can stick that into sky colour. Might as well do that. which is this here. Probably goes slightly darker than that. Let's have a quick look at that. Actually, change my mind. I'm going to go. This will be covered with all sorts of foliage, so it won't be dappled light coming through effectively. Branches of all sorts coming in. But I think good time to put that in now rather than leave it. And it's then will help segregate. Also, it means that this can have some light on it, which I think it needs a little bit of light to come in. Nothing too much, just a little bit. Okay, take that away. Good. I don't want stripes. Get this on it. Okay, so I think really we're pretty much done. So my feelings on it, this I need to work in, just need it to roll back, not be such an edge. So I'm going to work on this tomorrow. Kind of really like these coming across here. I love the way this curves around. That was just, now we can complicate that up and put all the, what's that word, detail in to here and look amazing. But it's a shame I didn't get put into the dark area of this, but again, I got tomorrow morning to do that. I like to develop a painting equally. I don't want this done, then next week do this. So tomorrow I'll do a bit of this and bit of this, and then we'll work down the painting. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed that. As ever, it's always fun, but be nice to think that next week I can show you a stage on this and you'll go, that's where we're going with it. So in the meantime, keep well, be safe. Do subscribe if you haven't done so, because it really does help the channel, and it's totally free to subscribe on YouTube, so please do. And if you want to have any comments or things about the painting and why I've done stuff, please leave them. We can then get back to you. So on that, be safe, have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at 5 o'clock. Okay, all the best. Bye for now.